Hello, I'm Brett Knowles from PM Squared Consulting. Strategy informs everything an organization does. Once we're clear on the strategy, we can begin to figure out how to manage the business, how to plan for the business, how to actually do our day-to-day performance, and of course, where to look for performance improvements. So we're going to walk around this dial and understand how managers manage. So let's start off with strategy. Best practices around strategy have us capturing the existing strategy through a strategy map. A strategy map describes the existing strategy across 4 perspectives. What are our financial objectives? To get there, what do we need to do to make our customers happy? Based on that customer value equation, what are the internal processes we need to meet and exceed those expectations? And then based on that, what are the enablers we need inside the organization? So today we're going to do a case study on an organization called Sparrow Telecommunications. Sparrow has a clearly articulated strategy, as all of your prospects do. In fact, if we take a look at it, it has a clear mission statement. In this case, they want a sparrow in every hand, household, and business. Some of the key objectives are things like provide predictable results. And that's a financial objective, so we'll put it in a financial perspective. Another objective they have is more products per customer. As you can see, for every organization, we should be able to just frisk the existing strategy for those objectives and put them into these 4 perspectives. Now, for a strategy map, we show the cause and effect relationship. So, for example, in order for us to provide predictable results, there's 2 things we need to do. First, we need to provide more products per customer, and secondly, reduce the cost per customer. To achieve these objectives, we need to make sure that the solutions we provide does everything, whether it's calendaring, phoning, photographing. And if we do that, we'll be able to achieve both more products per customer and reduce cost per customer, and so forth. The cause and effect diagrams allow us to explain how different goals move towards the overall success of the organization. And more importantly, for Anaplan, they show us the cause and effect relationship with the drivers. Now, we also help leadership prioritize these objectives. So, for example, in this current strategy, you can see that the highest weighting is on getting more products per customer, with a close follow-up of does everything right, always available, understand the customer. So these perspectives are where we're going to have our key drivers. And our argument for this session is that we should be able to find drivers for those 4 items that also drive the rest of the planning process, and thereby simplifying the planning processes and making it more agile. So let's take a look at that. If we understand that the strategy is at the center, and to begin with, we're going to have a conversation just about how do we manage the business. So to manage the business, we should be able to take a look at each of these objectives and understand what are the key metrics and what are some of the drivers which are available to us. And the idea is we now understand the core drivers based on the strategic goals. These are drivers which are available to every organization once we surface what the strategy is. In fact, this whole process I've described so far typically takes only about 3 hours in an organization. So if we go back to that core model, we now understand that strategy is at the center. When we're looking to manage in this organization for Sparrow, we're looking for the ultimate outcome of bundling and pricing all of their products together. On the planning side, we're looking for a driver that allows us to understand the network operations, the innovation, pricing, and so forth. On the performing side, how do we get employees engaged and keep them performing aligned with the strategy? And where do we do performance improvement to get maximum benefit? That strategy map drives all of these plans. Let's take a look at that. So on this model, if we take a look at, for example, the plans that the planning system needs to support, under business planning, for example, there are 5 plans we need to work on: sales, supply, demand, real estate, and consolidation. We also need to begin doing sales planning around things like forecast, revenue, quota, territories, and so forth. There's also business forecasting based on the plans, revenue, cash, inventory, free cash flow, those sorts of things. And then finally, human capital. We should be planning as much around humans as we are on the financial side. For goodness sakes, it's humans that create 80% of the value in organizations. Yet typically in planning things, we ignore that. But that one driver should inform all of those things. On the improve side, obviously, we need to be able to plan around project and project success. And then to manage, we need the feedback loop of what we're doing overall in performance management, operations, people, assets, how we're doing financially, and of course, how we're doing in the sales side in this example. So all these plans come out of your strategy, and they should all be linked together. So for example, if we're going to do a plan around sales and operations, that should inform and it should be linked to sales forecasting. The driver that we use in sales and operations planning should be the driver that's used in sales forecasting. In fact, the sales forecasting should drive both the revenue modeling and the territory planning. And the revenue modeling impacts a bunch of things, but one of which is doing the actual revenue forecast. So these plans are integrated, and although they seem like they're independent events in most organizations, it should be seamlessly integrated together. And obviously, as I'm implying, with as fewer drivers as possible. So if we take a look at, for example, human capital planning, we should be able to, on the sales side, begin developing some numbers for that based on both the sales forecast and revenue model. We should be able to begin understanding what the workforce should look like. And of course, the territory analysis is going to inform that as well. And then based on this, we should be able to begin getting some feedback. So for example, that human capital should be informing on the performance side how we're doing on those human metrics. Likewise, we should be able to take a look at something like how territory planning is supporting or impeding success, so we can do that sort of analysis. And finally, and obviously there's a network of arrows going in every direction, there's feedback loops as well. So for example, if we take a look at profitability analysis, that will affect the plan for next quarter on sales and operations planning, and the cycle begins to continue. So the story here is one driver, multiple uses. We shouldn't have independent planning systems. They should be integrated. So let's take a look at what that looks like in reality. So now we're going to take a look at that linkage between sales and operations planning and sales forecasting or revenue modeling. Now at this point, we're going to slide into the Anaplan demo. And from what I understand, we should have a conversation that leads to this screen, which talks about the relationship between products and products per customer as a driver for revenue. And that links back to the overall story. And then we're going to continue with other linkages between these different plans, as is appropriate for the key storylines within the existing software demo. So there's a number of things we want to do. We want to talk about the capacity planning or human capital planning side in an effort to show the participants how it's more than just financial planning and how we get all levels of the executive table involved. So there'll be a certain to and forth on walking through the software based on the key selling features inside the software demo. And we'll conclude with a little bit about employee engagement and the gamification of business. And then at the end of the demo is bringing it back full circle, saying, here's the planning cycle. These things are all integrated. It all becomes one model. So that's the storyline. Now we just need to figure out how it is we can link this into the software demo so it seems like a seamless conversation. And I look forward to our conversation on Wednesday when we begin planning that out.